కొంచెం అక్కడ కూర్చో నాకు ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. ఓకే. Guys, am I audible? One last check before we start. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, guys, today's session will make it very simple. We are planning for a 1 week long session, not just today's session only. The plan is whenever we go to any company technical interview, so what kind of questions people ask and what exactly, sometimes we know there is a question will come. Then we should know like why this particular question being asked is a very, very important part. So take it very generic. It can be TCS, CTS, Accenture, any service based companies. Typical pattern we're going to follow here completely. So before even going to these things, any company when you go, your resume reaches the interviewer before even you reach them. That is very, very important part. So technically you are giving a question paper to the interviewer to ask you questions like what you have prepared. Most of the companies, 90% they ask you question based on the resume what we give it to them. So my recommendation is whatever resume you upload in TCS can be from 3.1, 3.2, we never know how latest it is. So I expect you guys, everyone, to prepare a proper CV before you go to the interview, which is very, very important part. Because let's say you updated one resume which is about 3.2 or 4.1, then you have done your academic project as well, so you should have a latest resume to start with the process. Okay, that is very important. We'll discuss about this particular thing in detailed way about resume part. Generally, any company you go for an interview, the technical interview guy, what he expects is, first thing is to check your technical skills in detailed way. So you have cleared your TCS NQT coding test, right? So that means the guy expectations is whatever code you have executed in the interview part, can be for Ninja or Digital or Prime, you should be able to explain the code step by step. First thing is explain the code step by step. Second thing is they might ask you, can you optimize the solution whatever you have proposed? For example, you might have given a solution which is very, very normal way. They might ask you, can we write this code in different way also? They want to understand how far you can optimize the code. That is very, very important part. Along with that, they might ask you extension part. For example, take a small example. Let's say they have asked you a question called nth prime number. So you have written the code. So they have given nth prime number. Maybe they might extend like, I'll try to take a range in between. In the range, I might give you one prime number. Now I want you to identify what is that prime number's position. For example, if I give 7, so 7 is 2, 3, 5, 7. 7 is the fourth prime number. So one way is identify fourth prime number. Second way is give a prime number and ask you identify that particular number part. So don't just try to mug up the code what you have written. Try to understand the code, and there are 100% chances what we observed in the previous interviews also. Be prepared with the code what you have written in the examination part. For example, you have got two codes. Let's say you have done only one particular code, other code you have not written completely. It's time for you, before you go to the interview, prepare the other code as well, so that the interviewer will think that initially this person was able to do only one particular code, but in this particular duration of 1 month he has not given up. He tried to learn other things also. For example, in one code you have written only few test cases, others you are completely ignored. So make sure that to the interviewer stating that yes, I was able to do only one, but I did not give up. I have done my level best in terms of at least learning the code which I have failed to do the interview part, which is very, very important. So whatever code you have written, make sure that you can able to explain the code. When you go to the interviewer, definitely they'll not give a laptop to code. They might ask you paper based. They'll give you a paper. They'll ask you, please start explaining the code. So when you say explain the code, you should be able to say, write the code. You should be able to explain iteration 1, what is the I value, then what is the n value, iteration 2, what is the value, what is how the n value got changed, when the loop got incremented, when the value got reset to 0, the variable value, the when it was actually kind of out of the loop. So everything should be able to explain step by step, which is called as tracing. So first thing I repeat, I want every student to prepare the code what they have written with tracing step by step, which is very, very important part. Assume that you are able to do that. The second thing what they do, in your resume, obviously, so let's say your name, your email, phone number, blah, 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 your career objective, your academics part. So then you'll have your technical skills. So you might mention as programming languages, Java, C, C++, Python, whatever it is. So whatever you mention in your particular exam, the resume part, you should be able to explain all those things, all the definitions part. For example, let's say you mention as Java. So they start asking you very, very basic level some questions. Let's say, what is class, what is an object? So at a college level, we have always given examples such as tire, car, tube, blah, blah, blah. But in the interior part, don't tell the same old examples. Try to take, let's say, a phone pay. In a phone pay application, what is class, what is object? Explain more practical way. For example, there are something called as oops concepts. Many people, when I say an example, let's say inheritance. So most of the people, common example, what we generally give is father giving property to son. So that is not the good way of in the interview part. For example, take an example, there is a mobile version 1.0 and I'm actually trying to upgrade the software to 1.1. So then you should be able to say as part of inheritance, how much code I am able to reuse, the reusability of the code. If you explain in that particular way, people will definitely try to give you more weightage to your answers. Always make sure that all the programming language can be C, C++, Java, whatever you mentioned in the resume. Every topic you should be able to give a real-time example. You should be able to write a program to explain that with more practical way. That is very, very important part when it comes to your technical thing. Okay. Once your technical is done, the second thing what we're gonna do here is your project. Yes. Hello. Okay. Next one is your project part. So whether we agree or not, so I've been in this industry for the last 20 years. What I have noticed, most of the people either they purchase a project or they try to get some project from someone and they actually pass their project preparation in the interview, in the college part. That is quite okay. That is not something crime. That's what generally what people do. But when it comes to the interior part, so we should be able to explain the project more in detailed way with complete full stack approach. In my project, what all things I have used in the UI part, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In the middleware part, so what all things I have used, which programming language I have done my project in detailed way. Then you should be able to explain your database part of it. Many people, when we ask you what database you have used in your project, people tend to say SQL directly. SQL is is a language, not a database. You should be able to explain whether it is MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, or NoSQL wise, maybe MongoDB. You should explain more detailed way. Then you should be able to say, is your project is somewhere in Git? So how do we actually kind of take care of the Git part of it completely? So any project you have done, you should be able to explain more detailed way. If the CSE part, this is very important. If someone is from, let's say, ECE part, you should be able to explain what is the hardware component of it, software part in detail way. So this is, which is like most of the students, what we have noticed is they always get confused to explain the project, and very important part is the project title what you keep in your project book. So don't keep the same thing in your resume also, because sometimes the project title whatever you keep, which can be understood only by you or your department specific keywords or your HOD, not the other people. So we never know the guy who's actually interviewing me can be from CSE, can be from any other branch. So obviously, if I'm a mechanical guy, if I had talk in completely mechanical language, the guy who interviews me might not be able to understand the project title more detailed way. So always we have to make sure that the title in more meaningful way. So which is also very important, which we need to observe. And coming to this is about technical part mostly, they cover this particular thing as part of technical, your technical skills, what you mentioned, your project, and the code what you have written. This is something what people generally check in your technical part of it, which is very important. And don't try to say I applied for only TCS Ninja, so let me prepare only basic level. I applied for digital, so I must do all more of DSA part. Don't get into like that. Make sure that as a fresher you should be good with everything. From the basic level you should be strong first, then start learning DSA. Many people they always try to learn more of DSA part, but basic level they struggle a lot. So my recommendation is, irrespective of Ninja, digital or prime, make sure you always start from scratch and learn completely with more realistic real-time example. That's about technical part of it. Guys, I just gave a brief. Maybe I'll talk to my technical panel, my technical trainers who actually taught you the technical part of it. I'll try to arrange 3 4 day sessions for you daily, where they'll try to take every topic in detail way. They'll cover point by point in more detail. For example, I have written a program called, let's say, second largest number in a given array without sorting part of it. So when people ask me explain the code, you can't just type, you can't just tell the code, right? Okay, I initialize the variable, let's say int a b c, or bracket comma int. We can't just read the code. We have to always have an example. Let's say the problem statement and what is the input given, what output they're expecting, and what math logic actually you are trying to follow it to convert that math logic into your code part. How many conditions you are actually using it? If this condition says yes, this particular activity, how many times you have to do it? For example, the for loop part of it, you should be always explain more in a story wise, which I'll have my technical trainers to explain you how to explain the program and how to actually trace the program also in detail, which is very important part of it. Okay, that's about your technical part. And let's say, okay, technical we covered, whatever is we have done, we'll discuss. MR part of it. So manager round interview is, when you join a company, your role is not about just sitting there and then typing something, right? As part of your job, you have to interact with multiple people. It can be your clients, it can be your managers, team leads, team members, or other team members. So this manager round interview, they focus more on your team building. Like for example, are you a narrow down person, or are you a team player? So in a given context, whether do you react or whether respond to situation part, and how they'll try to take some examples in your life which is a challenging situation in your life, kind of a thing. It's always more like, if someone is technically good, they want to understand, can this person fit to TCS work culture? Whether we have a self-learning part, has he done anything really good in his life? They want to understand, technically is good. So let me understand how he is adaptable for all the typical technical environment they want to understand, for which they don't ask you directly. They will have certain scenarios and they want to understand how you respond to scenarios. But that is more about your MR part of it. And HR part. Guys, it's a bit funny, but every company when they do interviews part, HRs will have certain way of measuring the things. Something, let's say, if I interviewed, let's say, if I spoke to, let's say, 50 people, and I offered about some 40 people. Out of 40, if only 20 people are joining, HR will be questioned by the company management where exactly you fail to identify the people who will join for sure. So that's the reason companies always try to check, if I offer this guy, will he join or not? That is something what always they check. It has multiple things. For example, one very important part every company has to do is flexibility. As part of any MNC, when you join, you have to be flexible in 4 different ways. One is location wise. TCS might give you any location. They want to understand directly or indirectly with certain set of questions how flexible enough that you can go to any location in India. Second thing is the time zones. If, let's say, if you are put to a project which is a Australian based project, you need to start early by morning 4 a.m. Indian client different. UK client, you have to start by afternoon 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. US client, complete night shift. So they want to understand, because companies like TCS, they don't take you for a specific project. They take you as a fresher resource, they keep you on bench, and based on requirement the company get, the respective RM will take care of which project they have to assign you. So companies always want to check you should be flexible enough to take up any location, any time. The third one is technical part. If assume that you have done excellent job with your TCS Digital or maybe Prime or Ninja, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that TCS will give you a role which is in Java part. Let's say they test your coding skills. Once you join the company, based on the project availability, they might give you some ERP site, let's say SAP, Oracle applications, or any Oracle EBS, or they might give you certain things like Power BIs, and to analytics side they might give you, or they might give you something Microsoft technologies, more of .NET side. So company HR expects you to be flexible enough to take up enough technical parts. The fourth one is, sorry, the role based. Everyone can't be developer in a company, right? You have to get into developer role. You should be flexible. You should be flexible for a testing engineer role. Testing can be manual or automation part. Should be flexible enough to get into infrastructure roles. Let's say system administrator, DevOps, and all those things. So we discuss more in detail in the further classes. HR interview is more about to check your flexibility, how to make sure that you should be able to clear the interview and project yourself in such a way that, yes, provided if we give the chance to this particular guy, he will definitely take the opportunity. He has no other plans like MS or Gate or whatever, so he will join us for sure. Then only company will give you an offer letter. Many people will think, I have done excellent job in my technical or MR and HR interview, but I have not received my offer letter. You have to always think there might be a chance you might have given them a different scenario. Okay, this guy is good, but this guy has some other plans also. HRs are very smart. They never ask you, uh, what's your plans? Do you have any MS plans or not? They'll just ask you, uh, how confident, like, can you differentiate between Indian education system and US education system? Or they might ask you, do you have any siblings studying in USA part? What do you think about the current scenario of MS in the USA part? So people who prepared for them, they'll try to, we can easily make out this guy is whether prepared or doesn't have any idea. So always be cautious about what question they ask, how much information should I say, and how much information I should not say is very important part, which we'll cover as part of the HR discussions. So that's about it, guys. So everyone has to be very clear about technical part. I'll just revise completely. In technical, the code whatever you have written, you should be able to explain the code, optimize the code, and should be able to uh, solve the extension of the code completely. Then your resume part, resume, they might ask you from technical skills what you mentioned, or they might start from your academic project directly. And sometimes people will have a very funny question. Rate yourself in the interview part. Never ever get in the trap of rating yourself. For example, if I go to any movie, I might feel the movie is too good for me. I might give 5 out of 5. But my friend is a cinema critic. If he likes, he will give only 3 or 5, 3 out of 5, not completely 5. So rating can be different from person to person. Always in the interview part, if you say Java 10 out of 10, the interviewer might feel you are you're overconfident. If you give rating as only 3 or 4, the person might feel that this person is not even confident of himself, that is actually rating very, very minimal. So that's not a system, it's a human, right? Every human has their own way of taking the rating system. My recommendation is never rate. You can always say something, let's say, sir, I'm not sure about rating part. With respect to Java, I can write, explain any code with respect to numbers, patterns, arrays, strings, and DSA. And with respect to OOPS concepts, I can explain all the OOPS concepts with a real-time example. I can write a code as well. That's the best way to answer questions which are more like rating part of it. That we discuss in the coming classes. And I always teach something called as art of interview in all CVCORP students. It's very simple, guys. Uh, Simple terms. Let's say you went for a party with your friends, and actually you went for a party with your friends, and you have told your parents that I went for a combined study. So the next day, when you are going home, maybe in a bike or cab, whatever it is, you'll keep thinking of multiple things. Okay, if I say this particular thing, what the parents might ask you, what question they might ask, do I have the answers for it or not? Be prepared. That is how we generally do it. So, so agree, right? I mean, that is what generally what people do in terms of managing things. Similarly, when you go for an interview, we should always have a plan. If I give this particular answer, so what kind of questions the person might ask based on my answer? Am I prepared or not prepared? That is how we have to start. For example, I'll take a very simple example, self-introduction part. So when I start my self-introduction, and if I start telling about my name, my father name, my school, my inter, my degree, so I'm just trying to, I'm trying to waste the opportunity by just reading my resume, which already has the interview has it. So if I, let's say, go with a regular pattern, name, strength, weakness, hobbies, blah, 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 then what question, the next question the interview will ask you, we have no idea about it. Let's say if I tweak my self introduction and start saying that I am so and so, a recent B.Tech fresher. As a person, I'm a very technical savvy. I have done 1 2 projects in my project, and currently after my college, I have joined a training institute. Currently, I'm learning A, B, C, D, E. If you end your answer either with your project or with what current you are learning from institute or whatever it is, so 90% there might be a chance the interviewer might ask you what you are learning currently, what project you have done. So in a way, here what I am trying to do, instead of giving a complete vague answer, I am trying to give few questions, the few answers, which will trigger few questions from the interviewer, which you already prepared. If you keep in that way, it's easy. For example, you might start with a nervous note, the interview part, but after that, indirectly it is you who is dictating the interviewer what questions to ask. 80% you can actually can, if you really plan it, you can crack it very easily. So last few I can say years, we have done a lot of TCS specific interviews at CVCORP. I can say our hit rate was almost 90% and above, because we know what questions they ask and how to answer them. So it's all about code, your academic project, and few questions, your favorite subject, situation in your life, and then like how you present yourself. So these are few things which you have to very, very prepared. So maybe once the session is done, I'll try to gather more questions from you through the WhatsApp channels, whatever we have. Then I'll start preparing classes for you starting from tomorrow. I'll give it time, and we'll try to have more questions and come with the questions. We'll explain all the questions more interview way, and we can even take sessions 1 to 1 as well for everyone, like a mock interviews. And all the CVCORP students who are listening to this session, tomorrow please come and meet me. I'll arrange in-person classes to all of you guys in the post lunch session after the classes, where I'll personally take few more sessions, and I'll have the technical panel talk to you directly also, because online sometimes we don't get that vibe. So we try to do the offline part for TCS, for CVCORP students. Others, we can actually continue online and try to see what best we can do. That's it, guys. So what I just want to tell you these things. Any specific questions you have, please post in the WhatsApp groups, whatever we have, or you can comment here in the once we upload this video in the YouTube channel. Please post all your questions so that the next videos, whatever we do, will come with proper plan about like how to crack TCS interview. It is very easy, provided if you think. So I am applying for a service-based company where I should be flexible for A, B, C, D. These questions what they'll ask. If I answer this particular way, there is a chance the HR might reject me. So I should always know about how much extent I can tell about myself and how much extent I have to hide for myself. All these things we can cover in the next coming 3-4 days time. We'll try to cover all those things. Thank you. Guys, any questions you have, you can message here. We can take it up. Okay. Satish, generic questions about the college and everything, we can take it later. Let's restrict this particular session to TCS specific part. Okay. Guys, Darshi, right? I mean, same thing we discussed before also. There are chances, let's say my project is completely on machine learning and AI, but I have no clue about what is machine learning, what is AI. I have just purchased a project for somewhere. So I'll try to arrange one workshop to all of you guys, so where you can come with your project specific titles. So maybe, or I'll try to arrange one in-person session. If someone is from Hyderabad, it can be non-CVCOR students also. You guys can come walk over to office maybe on some weekend. We can do a session for you. EC student, guys, irrespective whether you're EC student or CSC, civil, mechanical, blah, blah, whatever it is, you are applying for an IT job. So you should be good with basics of Java, database, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you should be able to explain your entire project in a full stack way. That's it.